or that's.
I'm getting an indication that that might not happen, and I'm concerned about it.
That PE might not be restored even if the
Okay,
funds are.
but I think once the override passes or doesn't pass, we're gonna know very soon, well before the academic year starts in September. And at that time, I think this would be an appropriate discussion or debate with the
But the kids
superintendent.
are picking courses now, I guess that's what
They
brought
can't
it
pick
to
it
us.
now if it doesn't exist and the override hasn't passed.
But we could be surveying them to see what kind of interest there was in the course.
Fine, we can do that. But
That's what we're
That's what I'm
asking.
asking for,
You know,
that's all I'm
we're
asking
putting
for.
the horse before the cart here,
No,
okay?
we're trying to
That's
make an
all.
avenue for kids to learn.
I know what you're trying to do.
No.
I know what you're trying to do. And again, once the override passes, I think that we can come back to this discussion, and I'm not necessarily not supporting it either, and come back and at that point in time, put in place a mechanism for kids to select a course that they can't select now because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
That's all.
Any other comments?
I mean, I'm just getting cranky because I know we gotta go over these goals and it's just driving me
No,
crazy.
we have a new method of
See that coming.
reviewing the goals.
And policy readings.
Can I just comment on that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very clear, and in the development of this pyramid, certainly as you move up the steps and you get near the top, it's getting more and more tenuous. And I think we need to remember where we started from on this. We started with a finance planning team asking us to develop a budget that was $400,000 below the status quo. And as every week went by, things changed. And so that's how this pyramid was built. It was built, let's get to the status quo to maintain. Then let's put in priority one, and there was quite a bit of discussion about what should go in first in priority one. And priority one did not include the restoration of some of these programs. It included, after much debate, a focus on the special ed and the literacy, and it focused on class size issues at the high school. Then priority two, which was to deal primarily with putting back the programs in the arts sufficiently to deal with some of the time issues, the time of the early dismissal and the time of the study hall.
Right.
All right? And I've been very careful to say that just putting those back in is there's not sufficient money. We're not putting back every single program, even at priority two. But the commitment is to have students back as fully as possible. And that's what we're working on right now. Just as much as it took literally 3 months to get ready for the opening of school in September, the principals are now going back and saying, how do we schedule this? If we're putting back music, putting back art, putting back physical education in the middle school and the elementary school, is it done the same way that it was done before? And basically, how can you weave some magic out of what is not fully restoring all of the programs? So it's going to take some time. And I think I have to be very careful to make sure that the time is well spent by the principals in making those kinds of decisions. The third priority is dealing, if the override passes, with adding some more positions back. Yes, one of them it says right on there is physical education. I'm suggesting today, right now, that it's not that we're not going to do that, but I anticipate a whole number of questions that have to be in place. And yes, we can go out tomorrow and survey juniors and seniors to see whether or not they should sign up for physical education. My concern is that there's still a lot of questions to be answered here. Another one of the positions under the override is another high school core academic teacher. Where will that best be needed? Is that going to be needed in social studies? Is it going to be needed in foreign language? Yes, I am concerned about which one should we be actually putting back in at this point.
But you'll know after they
We
sign up.
will know we will know some of that after we sign up,
Right.
but also we will not know whether or not some of those staff members will have to be shifted. Who's going to go where? We're going to be moving people back around again. Who's going to be available and at what time? We will still be sharing staff in between buildings to try to make this work. So I'm not being hesitant in terms of it going out and having students sign up for something, but I will caution everyone, is that it's going to take some real careful thinking to try to make this work, even at priority one and priority two.
I understand, it's just, they're gonna sign up for classes, you go through that exercise of placing them in classes, and you're gonna have to redo it all.
Well, you have to sign up for PE and then not have it happen, and what are you gonna do then?
Well, then you're just assigning 150 kids into more classes. Anyway, as long as it's an option, it's
Okay.
doable.
Next, we have policy, use of surveillance cameras. Just one question, I didn't read through this. Steve had, one of the things that you had asked was that we have something in here about the number of years that the videos would be kept in. Was that addressed, do you know?
I've sent this out for legal review, and I don't have a bad question answered.
Okay, so should we do this tonight, or should we wait for the legal opinion to come in?
I would
Wait? Okay, so we will,
May I suggest a minor
sure.
change in it anyway? At the end of the first paragraph, the last sentence starts, such prohibition does not preclude the use of audio recordings by law enforcement officials. I'd like to suggest that it say audio or other video recordings by law enforcement officials, because it implies that it is exhaustive in the area of video.
So you're saying we need to add and other video recordings?
Or other video after audio.
So we're saying that law enforcement can use audio or video recordings if necessary?
If there was a court order,
Right.
Need to put a video in a
Okay.
classroom or something.
Okay.
We can't have a policy that says it
They can't do
it
it.
doesn't happen.
Right. Okay, so let's, we'll pass over this until our next meeting. Dr. Troten has it out for review with legal counsel. That makes good sense. Review of goals, progress report of our goals. Making a lot of progress. Next.
So moved.
I do remember when we put these goals together, I think we talked about trying to minimize the number of goals, and we still have a lot listed here.
Yeah.
But having some key focus areas. And I couldn't find my notes or minutes from way back when we did that.
It was mostly budget.
Budget, right.
Get enough money so that we can put in the, restore the programs that we.
Right.
I know I showed these, I just held them up so my husband would say, do you think we should, do you wanna look this over? Cause he's got his fresh MBA and
I
he
hope he
loves
said
looking
no.
at procedural stuff. He did, he looked at it and the first thing out of his mouth was, that's too many.
Yes.
You're never gonna be able to get it all done in the amount of time that you wanna get it done, and you're not gonna be able to focus your energies enough to accomplish all the things on there. So, yeah, I'm thinking, definitely keep working to pare it down, prioritize more. If that means making, some of the goals a little more general, that's okay with me, rather
Yes.
than, have Dr. Troten belong to 27 different, professional societies. I don't think that's a necessary goal. That's done and done,
And we
that
know he's
kind of
gonna do
thing.
that because he's committed to doing
Right.
that.
Right.
Steve, you have a comment?
As I look through, there are several areas which either have not been initiated or have been on the agenda for more than 1 year.
Years.
Right.
And they actually form a cluster. They have to do with things like academic progress and assessment
Right.
from elementary to secondary, with length of school day or school start times, with homework, with basically with the kinds of things that a strategic plan at this point needs to address. I think if you look at them as a whole, it's time to at least ask if we need to be having a new vision of what the school day is like and what the school, the life of the school is. There was an article in I don't even remember where I read it now. I just read it recently too, about a school district that has extended its school day to 4:30, and there are things being done within the school day now, and there are more, it was a middle school here in the state, but there are more extracurricular activities because they're done during the day and the students don't have to worry about getting home. And there's a whole host of things like that one can consider if one is willing to revision the school day. And I think that's really the work of a strategic planning process. So as I approach the end of my tenure here, I'm really encouraging, not because I'm looking for something else to do, but because I think it's time that we really push for a new strategic planning.
And I think David is on board with that, because we've discussed this previously. And Steve's right, a lot of these individual things that either are not initiated or have been in progress for quite some time fit nicely into a strategic plan. The question I have, and I guess I could ask Jerry or I could ask Dr. Trojan, should we at least go through these one by one tonight?
Actually, I think you're right, Marty. You did a pretty good job of paring these down a little bit, in spite of what Nicole says.
But they probably should be pared down even more.
But, you know,
I think we
going
should just
through
hit
them,
the
we've
core
actually
topics, and if anything jumps out.
accomplished quite a few. I mean, between the superintendent's goals and the school committee's goals, we've actually completed some. that
Yes.
Maybe we didn't.
And I think I do want to go through those, but
Yeah.
I think we can go through it quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and I
think so.
think that when Nicole, if you look at the policy, so we have four areas of focus: policy, budget, communication, and strategic planning. I think policy is one of the areas that troubles me, because we have 13 different items working right now, and I guess we could look at them and say every one of these is important, but should we start structuring those and taking 4 of them and say, let's do these 4 this year? I mean, can we label those 4 as the 4 most important, or as Steve says, do they roll into a new strategic plan? I guess I'd like David's input on that too. You know, some of the things on policy, like off-site independent study, how does that roll into a strategic plan? Or the reporting academic, you know, how are we reporting academic programs? Their whole report card issue? How do those become? Do they stay individual goals, or do they get rolled into a new plan?
I think these are just the policies around those practices. And I think that the policy subcommittee would be the ones that would say, we'll come up with 4 this year and
Right.
4 next year. But that takes a really structured, active policy subcommittee to
Right.
identify them and then reach their goal at the end of the
And I
year.
think that's what I'd like to see, because when we keep, what we do is we have 11 and we'll add 2 or 3 more on.
Right,
and
without
then-
taking any off the
Without
top.
taking any off the top. And I think, you know, the policy subcommittee will be reconstructed next year, all the subcommittees will. And I think if you look at the policy one, I think that's one of the goals we should have, is to set priorities as to what, you know, what's on top. And, I mean, they're all important, but to different levels of
Right,
importance.
plus it makes it easier to get it done. When you've got 4 things to focus on, you're not trying to prioritize and develop them at the same time. You know, get the priorities down, work on those 4, makes it easier to, know what you're doing.
So do you want to go through these individually, or? I mean, I'll just.
Could I ask that we skip all the activities, just go over the objectives and
Right.
just highlight what we've
Yes.
completed, maybe, and.
I think I'll say on policy, and these are the school committee goals now, we have a lot of things that are ongoing or in progress. And that's when I talk about we should set some priorities. You know, we all might have different priorities, and I think Mrs. Bach is right. The policy subcommittee should put those, but I think the school committee we should also have a look at those and say, well, wait a minute, a couple of us might think, you know, this policy on gifted and talented students is something that we should